Imagine hiking on a trail in broad daylight only to vanish forever. No scream, no struggle, no body, just gone. Between 1945 and 1950, 5 people disappeared without a trace in the same patch of Vermont wilderness. Locals don't call it Glastonbury Mountain, they call it the Bennington Triangle.
Tucked away in the southwest corner of Vermont, the Bennington Triangle is 30 square miles of unforgiving terrain. Steep ridges, bottomless bogs, abandoned ghost towns, and forests so thick the sun can barely touch the ground. Once a booming lumber and charcoal settlement, Glastonbury is now one of America's unincorporated towns, swallowed by the Green Mountains. Long before the first white settler arrived, the native Abenaki refused to set foot on these lands. They said the 4 winds meet on the mountain in an eternal battle, driving men mad. They spoke of an enchanted stone that swallows anyone foolish enough to step on. And they warned of man-eating spirits that would guard cursed burial grounds. To the Abenaki, this was land where the veil between worlds is thin. In the 1970s, researcher Ivan T. Sanderson labeled places like this vile vortices, electromagnetic anomalies around the globe where compasses spin, aircraft vanish, and people disappear, the Bermuda Triangle being the most famous. While people often go missing in remote wooded areas, the true mystery at the Bennington Triangle lies not just in the disappearances themselves, but in the profoundly strange circumstances surrounding each case, and the massive search efforts that consistently yielded more questions than answers. The mystery began with Middle Rivers in 1945, an armed, experienced outdoorsman who knew the long trail intimately. Rivers vanished mere feet ahead of his hunting party. Despite a massive days-long search involving locals, state police, the National Guard, and airmen, the only clue recovered was a single spent rifle cartridge. The case of college student Paul Weldon in 1946 is initially less strange, as she fits a profile sometimes linked to a local serial killer, and may have been depressed. However, like Rivers, Paula vanished along the long trail, and extensive search parties were again launched without success. Then there is the nearly impossible case of James Tedford in 1949. While on a bus headed to Bennington, the driver confirmed he was asleep at the previous stop. He disappeared without a trace between stops, with all his belongings still resting on his seat. A man simply gone from a moving vehicle. The pattern continued with 8-year-old Paul Jepson in 1950. Paul Jepson vanished while his mother was busy with farm chores. Search dogs lost scent abruptly, chillingly at the exact spot where Paula Weldon was last seen years earlier. No remains or clues have ever been found. Finally, just 16 days after Jepson, Frida Langer vanished. Like Rivers, she was thoroughly familiar with the train, yet disappeared on a short trip back to her cabin to change clothes. Despite search parties of up to 300 people, aircraft, and helicopters, her body was not discovered for 7 months. Oddly, when her body was found, it was in an area that was alleged to already have been searched multiple times. Her remains were too decomposed to determine the cause of death, leaving her final moments an enigma.
But the disappearances are only part of the horror.
In the 1800s, a stagecoach is overturned by a massive, hairy creature with glowing eyes. 1943, days before Carol Herrick's mutilated body is found, witnesses report a towering, long-haired figure flying through the treetop. 2003, Hunter Ray Dufresne watches a 7-foot black biped walk upright across Route 7 at dusk, far too graceful to be a bear. Countless hikers report the Bennington Monster, foul-smelling, red-eyed wild man that throws rocks, screams like a banshee, and watches from just beyond the firelight.
Multiple groups describe stepping onto a trail at noon, stumbling out at midnight, convinced only minutes had passed.
A lost hiker in 2008 said he walked for 6 hours in circles, yet his watch losing 3 hours with no memory of stopping. Multiple groups described stepping onto the trail at noon and stumbling out at midnight, convinced only minutes had passed. One man in the 1990s claimed to have seen an old-time lumber camp, complete with horse-drawn carts and workers in 19th century clothes, before it dissolved into the fog.
Love it.
So this little town of Bennington is basically a ghost town, okay? Why in the world does this little town that has like 10 people living in it have one of the biggest obelisks in America erected in the center of town?
Yeah.
The shape of the obelisk was believed by ancient Egyptians to channel divine energy. Usually Egyptians built massive obelisks as entryways to temples or tombs, located at sites where powerful spiritual frequencies vibrated from underground, believed by some to be part of an ancient energy grid or communication system. It is important to note that the connection between obelisks and aliens is rooted in popular culture and speculative theories rather than mainstream historical or scientific evidence. Others theorize they help with classified military experiments, stealth aircraft prototypes, or radar deflecting installations. What I find most important is the underground spiritual energies in particular, because there are a lot of theories around Bennington that speak of underground tunnel systems, which are said to be located underneath the Bennington Monument. There are a lot of underground tunnels in Vermont. Most of them are dilapidated and unsafe for the public to use. Everything from railways to even cattle transport tunnels. Seriously, Vermont has more tunnels in it than the average Minecraft world. The Bennington obelisk is comprised of limestone blocks between 1887 and 1891 to commemorate the Revolutionary War Battle of Bennington, or so we're told. I was unable to get my EVP to sweep, mostly because I forgot that you have to hold down the sweep button on the radio. But oddly enough, on a single station, I did pick up a knocking sound at the memorial. Could it be one of the 207 British troops killed in the Battle of Bennington? Could it be one of the 30 American troops killed in the Battle of Bennington? Or could it be one of the 5 missing persons in the Bennington Triangle? Perhaps maybe it could have been something else entirely, trying to communicate with me. I'm not sure if I want to find out. The battle it commemorates did not actually even take place in Vermont. The monument itself has experienced chronic moisture problems that trap water inside of its stone. It is the second tallest unreinforced masonry building in the United States after the Washington Monument. These images don't quite do it justice. It is humongous. Mind you, this structure was completed in 1891. The peak of the obelisk reaches over 1,170 feet above sea level. The monument's design includes void spaces, making it vulnerable to seasonal freeze-thaw cycles, where water infiltrates and expands, causing deterioration. Various attempts at sealing the exterior actually worsened the problem by trapping moisture inside. President Rutherford B. Hayes attended the Centennial celebration of the battle in 1877, and President Benjamin Harrison was the guest of honor at the monument's dedication ceremony in 1891. As a non-native, I decided that I would need to speak with a local expert on Vermont's lore.
Weird tunnel system that I suspect goes throughout this entire town. And I've been meaning to try to find access to them.
In order to keep this individual as well as this individual's location classified, I will be replacing most of the footage with some B-roll that I've filmed along my travels through Bennington.
Oh yeah, I'll have a stop sign. This is where I work.
What? Did you hear that?
Yes. But this is the abandoned building. I don't know how, but someone's been able to get in there a couple of times, or bust out one of the top story windows. I don't know what it used to be. I know that. Also, pretty please do heavily edit all this footage so no one knows where I live.
Yeah.
Thank you. Spooky abandoned building ahead of us. Did horrible things happen in that building? Would that pick up spirits from urns?
I wouldn't try to speak to...
Oh, no, not to speak to... Not...
Some of the responses can make you... Sometimes you'll hear a response and it's like, okay, I gotta shut this off because it's something else coming through. It's like definitely trying to say something here.
Yeah, I'm not trying to speak to my best friend or my dog. I feel like that'd be rude.
But certainly, it actually probably could, like, if, you know, somebody wanted to speak to you through it, then yeah.
Does not exist.
Yeah, that's not like a thing.
And an adult does not suddenly just die. Also the corn, so someone definitely killed him.
Yeah.
Of course, the commies spray painted "No USA." No USA. Here I am.
You couldn't do that in China. You couldn't fucking... You'd be in a concentration camp for the rest of your life if you put that up somewhere in China.
Yeah. But that's also weird, like, they're the graffiti police, like, someone graffitied something nice over there, but then just for someone else to exit out.
You have any last words for us?
Do you know of any whereabouts? Do you know how to enter the tunnel system beneath this town?
No.
Not part of the Better Vermonter program. But that's where the eugenics occurred and where they slaughtered, just again butchered anyone that the state of Vermont deemed unmarketable.
So what Jimmy's talking about here is a project called the Better Vermonter program, or the Vermont Eugenics program. So to elaborate, we've all heard the horror stories of insane asylums. Back in the earlier days, basically anyone deemed unfit was forcibly sterilized. Those who didn't sterilize themselves on free will were forced into institutions. And they use the term unfit very loosely, as a lot of it was race-based. Essentially, they could just consider you ugly, throw you into an institution for life, and you would ultimately either live out your life in terrible conditions before dying from said conditions, or sometimes, actually a lot of the time, many would end up, unfortunately, and trigger warning,
end their own lives. They make it a point to compare and contrast away from the state-sanctioned eugenics of Nazi Germany, although there are a lot of similarities. Some could even argue this probably worse in some cases, especially seeing as a lot of these people ended up ending their lives via jumping off the tops of the asylum buildings. Also, they were never given the reconciliation so much as entirely given proper burials. And sometimes when it floods, some of these bones will, from these institutions, will wash up with the rain. Two of the races that were targeted in particular through the eugenics program were the Native Americans and actually the French Canadians also.
It's pretty terrible, and yeah, I just thought I should clarify that.
So, like, you know, you're ugly, you're an alcoholic, you're a big cuckoo, you're homeless, all bounded up, put in there, sterilized. There are a lot of cars there. I wonder what the occasion is. Oh. This place is actually a very old town. Back in, like, it's been around since, like, late 1700s. They used to just build stuff here, put it on barges in the Connecticut, and send it downstream. The town was ruined by boomers and pseudo-hippies. But especially in the spring and summer, it's kind of like something you would see in Spirited Away or some Hayao Miyazaki movie about like a quiet little mountain town.
You could have shot with that. Anybody home? Those are some... How old is this?
There's a lot of headstones going back to the 1800s. I know that many years ago, one kid at the local college did, for fun, decided to destroy a bunch of the headstones.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, they were arrested. The cops came to campus and just hauled him off. Like, he got in serious middle. You can't see it because it's dark out, but that big tree that you see the shadow of in the middle.
Yeah, it's pretty active.
And the cool part about this town is no one cares. So if you want to come back to A when you're super bundled up, or B haunted place, but this is not the eugenics program place. We'll be back, fellas.
Have a good night.
God bless you all.